Hey Astro Kids and welcome back. This is your August 2020 horoscope for Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So I want to wish a happy birthday to all of the Leos out there. And the first thing that we have going on here as far as the major transits is a full moon in Aquarius. So this is an interesting full moon because we started off this lunar cycle with a new moon in Cancer versus a new moon in Leo because of that three-part eclipse season that we had, where we started off with that full moon penumbral lunar eclipse in Sagittarius instead of a new moon solar eclipse in Gemini. So we're closing out this lunar cycle that started off with a new moon in Cancer. And this lunar cycle has really been about leaving behind the past and working through our emotions, connecting into what truly fulfills and nurtures us on a soul level. And we are closing it out with this full moon in Aquarius, where all of these shifts and changes happening emotionally is bringing us results on a physical level. So this is pushing us into the future. Lots of changes that are happening, lots of shifts that are happening. And we talked a lot about that, especially with that full moon that we had in Scorpio that was in that opposition with Uranus, that this has been a big time of shifting and changing, and especially with that Pluto conjunction with Saturn that we had at the beginning of 2020 back in January, which was the catalyst for this major shift in our reality. So lots of changes and shifts that are happening this full moon, pushing us into a brand new shift and change. And for those of you with Leo rising, this is happening in your 7th house, where this is dealing with your interaction with others. And so there is a lot that is unfolding here for those of you with Leo rising, where this is a big moment of really connecting to more people and getting more of your ideas out there. So this is a big time for progression in terms of business partners, in terms of relationships, in terms of friendships. So throughout your partnerships, Leo, this is happening for you, where this is an abundance, this is a gain here, especially as it is happening in the sign of Aquarius, where we talk about our wishes, our dreams being fulfilled. And so this is a major moment here where many of you are progressing, moving forward, making strides in your friendships, in your partnerships. For some of you, you are starting to move forward in your businesses, as this is directly affecting your partnerships and teamwork. Now, moving forward here on the 4th, we have Mercury entering into your sign of Leo. So this is Mercury entering into your 1st house, where Mercury, this planet of communication, of logical thinking, of details, of information, of messages coming through, is coming into this very powerful spot here in Leo, as it has spent a great deal of time back in the sign of Cancer as it went through that retrograde, where it has been a lot about going in, dealing with our internal feelings. And this has been a very interesting Mercury retrograde that we have gone through, where this has been a lot about working through your subconscious blocks and patterns. But now as it moves forward into your 1st house of yourself, of your personality, of the way that you are presenting yourself to others in the world around you, this is a big time of starting to get those ideas, get those messages, those dreams, those images that you had on a subconscious level and bring it through into the physical. So this is a big time of starting to express your ideas, starting to network, starting to get the information out there. And this is going to be a big time where many of you are wanting to communicate more, wanting to express yourselves more, as this is Mercury in your 1st house. This is also a time where you will receive a lot of messages and information through others as well, as this is directly relating to that axis of your relationships, as the 1st house opposes the 7th house. Moving forward on the 7th of August, we have Venus entering into Cancer. So this is Venus entering into your 12th house, where we just saw that Mercury retrograde, and Venus has been retrograde for a great deal back in your 11th house, where it has been a big time of really reevaluating and looking over your goals, looking over your friendships, looking over your big dreams for the future. And as Venus has come direct, it has been a big moment of really starting to push those dreams and those goals forward, starting to move forward with your friendships, with your business partners, with your arrangements. And as Venus comes into your 12th house, this is really a time to start to reflect. And we talked a lot about this back in your July horoscope, where this is really a time for you, Leo, to start to pay attention to your self-care, start to pay attention to your own needs. This is Venus entering into your 12th house, where there is a lot of mental health that needs to be focused on at this time. So making sure that you have this mental clarity, that you have enough sleep. This is happening on this major axis that is dealing with your health, as your 12th house opposes your 6th house. So really big time of really making sure that you are taking care once again of your clarity, of your mental health. So making sure you're getting enough rest, making sure that you're not stressing yourself out, that you are taking that time, taking those breaks that are needed, but also a big time to make sure that you are connecting in with yourself. This is about loving those hidden parts of yourself deep within your subconscious, where with Venus in your 12th house, many of you are going to want to give and give and give during this time, as Venus is exalted back in the 12th house naturally. So this is a big time of really making sure that you are not only giving to others and not only giving to your responsibilities to the world, but also giving back to yourself in this process. This is also a big time to connect to your ancestors, to your guides, to your internal spiritual world as well during this time. And so many of you may be receiving messages from your ancestors, through your guides, through spirit during this time as well. Now moving forward, on the 15th of August, we have Uranus, which is stationing retrograde in Taurus, and it has been in Taurus for a great deal of time. For those of you here with this Leo rising, this has been happening up in your 10th house. But this has been a big time of shifting and changing your career, your status, your business, your reputation. And so a lot has been going on for many of you in terms of business and negotiations of contracts during this time. And so Uranus is now stationing retrograde up in your 10th house. So this is a big time to rethink those changes that you are wanting to make, rethinking those ideas that you have, rethinking these new ventures that you want to take on during this time. And so with Uranus in retrograde, it really is a time to rethink some of those rebellious streaks within yourself in terms of your goals, in terms of where you are headed in your life. Now moving forward, on the 18th, we have a new moon that is happening in your own sign of Leo. And so this is an interesting one because we didn't start off that lunar cycle that ended with the full moon in Aquarius with a new moon in Leo. We were thrown off by that eclipse season. And so now we're having this new moon in Leo happen here on the 18th, where this is going to end up in a full moon in Capricorn. And so, in Pisces. And so what is happening here is a lot that is having to do with your dreams, having to do with what you want to experience at this time. And with the new moon happening in your first house, this is a time to look at how do you want to change yourself? How do you want to appear? Many of you may be trying on new styles, trying on new images, but even deeper than that, many of you are here shifting and changing your actual personality in the way that you're presenting yourself to others in the world around you. And so this is an opportunity for you to start something new in your reality, for you to create something new in your reality, for you to shift and change in your appearance if need be. Now, moving forward, the last major shift that is happening here in August is happening on the 22nd. As we shift seasons, the sun will enter into the sign of Virgo. And so this is shifting us from a season that has been all about fun, about excitement, about joy, about self-expression, especially for those of you with Leo rising, as the sun has spent a great deal of time in your first house. This is the sun entering into your second house, where this is going to highlight your values, your finance. And so for many of you, you've been shifting in terms of business, in terms of goals, in terms of what you want to create and what you want to manifest. And so this is a big time where a lot of financial gains can pour in. This is a big time where some new form of security and worth can be found and realized as the sun is lighting up your second house. Now, for many of you, there's a lot of questions around whether the sun entering into your second house means that you are receiving financial gains. And this is something that varies from person to person. And so if you are watching this and you are not receiving financial gains at this time, this is something that is going to affect various different people at this time. So remember that this is a general reading, and depending on the other placements in your chart, that will determine what will happen here. But as far as the sun being in your second house, this is highlighting your finances, your security, your self-worth, your finances, your material possessions at this time. And so this is definitely a time where many of you can receive some gains, where many of you can start to form a new sense of security. And so those are the transits. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the cards. And for this August horoscope, I did pick from the Rider Tarot deck as well as the Barbieri Zodiac Oracle deck as well. So we're going a little bit old school now, moving into our older decks. And the first card that comes up here is the Five of Pentacles. I'm sorry, the Four of Pentacles in reverse. And so remember that there's a lot here that you are doing as far as shifting and changing in terms of your career, in terms of your finances, in terms of your goals at this time. And so there's a lot that feels a little bit off balance, that feels a little bit out of sync, but this is a part of this process that you are changing and that you are shifting. And next card, speaking of changing and shifting, is our Hanged Man in reverse. And so it is a time for many of you who have Leo rising. Some of you who have Leo sun or moon may resonate with this as well, where it's a time to start shifting your perspective. And it is a time where many of you are thinking of making these shifts and changes, but making sure that you're actually taking the action to do this, as this is going to move you into a brand new direction. Next card here is the Five of Swords. So many of you are letting go and releasing what no longer serves you. Big part of this change that you are going through. And so for those of you who are letting go of old projects, who are letting go of old fears, old blocks at this time, old ideas, this is a big time to continue to make sure that you are working through this. Next card here is the Empress. And so once again, seeing those gains, seeing that new form of security, seeing this new level of comfort and happiness that is coming through your projects and ventures that you are currently working on. Next card is the Page of Cups. So this is a time of making sure that you're allowing everything to flow into your life. Remember that we have this Empress card here where there's a lot of gains, a lot of comfort, a lot that is coming through in terms of what you have done, what you have been able to create. So continuing to allow that to flow in your life and not allowing any blocks to come through. So many of you, this is a time to express yourself. This is a time to be in tune with your feelings. This is a time to understand where those subconscious blocks are. Remember that we talked about that Venus that is entering into your 12th house. So making sure that you are implementing that self-love, that you are taking care of yourself, that you're not allowing these blocks to get in the way of your values, to get in the way of what you love, to get in the way of what you can experience at this time. So being in that flow and not allowing any blocks. And that is going along with our next two cards here. We have the Ace of Swords in reverse as well as the Six of Swords in reverse. And so there is something to say here about many of you trying to block yourselves from what you can actually have at this time. Many of you are not allowing yourselves to go through this new beginning so that you can have this victory for yourself. And so it is a time to make sure that whatever blocks come up, whatever fears come up, whatever issues that need to be resolved that are coming up here are actually being worked through and resolved, especially on a subconscious level. So for those of you who believe that you have done the work, many of you still facing some challenges and difficulties here on a subconscious level. And Venus is going to bring this to your attention, along with that Mercury that is shifting there into your first house. That's bringing a lot of the subconscious issues and problems to the surface so that it can be resolved. And so this is a big time to really take a look at that and to really do that inner work. Going along with that, our last card here is the Hermit. So once again, taking that internal journey, taking that solo journey within to really work through and resolve those subconscious blocks, to find those solutions. Remember that the opposite of that 12th house is your 6th house, which is in Capricorn, where we're seeing all of this Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, where there's a lot of changes that are happening, not only on a subconscious level, but also on this physical level as well, where your healing and your health and your love of yourself, even on an emotional level, is still going to affect your physical health, especially as we have this intensity of Pluto that is happening here in your 6th house. And so really making sure that you are allowing yourself to go through these changes and shifts and really taking care of yourself, going through the internal work that needs to be done to face these challenges and obstacles that are holding you back. Moving on to the Barbieri Zodiac Oracle deck, we have Virgo. Speaking of that 6th house, there is a lot in terms of challenges and obstacles that need to be worked through here. And many of you are not wanting to face this. Many of you are not wanting to make the improvements and adjustments, and even to, once again, allow that flow so that you can have this joy and happiness. Look at that Sun card. That is your energy, Leo, as the Sun is your ruler. There's a lot here in terms of needing to express yourself, needing to work through those difficulties and challenges. And again, speaking of that 6th house, we have Capricorn, which is the ruler of your 6th house. And so there is a lot here in terms of these shifts and changes that are happening to you in your physical world, and really needing to make sure that you are not getting involved in a lot of stress and worries and complications, and not allowing these obstacles and challenges to hold you back at this time. So really allowing yourself to work through these difficulties and obstacles and to push ahead into these new ventures. So that was your horoscope for August 2020 for Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. I hope you all enjoyed this. If you like this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. I also wanted to mention that I am currently offering a class on astrology. It can be found in the Facebook group Astrology Class with Daquan Jones, and I will leave the information for that down below in the comments, or you can contact me personally if that is something that you are interested in. Also, feel free to join the group Astro Metaphysical Love and Light on Facebook. It is a free group where you can share your spiritual wisdom, your love and advice, motivational advice, or simply just love and peace. So feel free to join that group over on Facebook. I also will leave the link for that down below in the description and the comments. And I want to thank you all once again so much for joining. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.